Welcome to Objections, Stan Willis. I'm Michael Morris. Over here, as you see, is C. Stanley Willis. C. Stanley, how are you?
I'm paying attention.
I am so happy that you gave me that initial to just use and abuse over and over again, because I don't think people are getting the fact. I just want them to call you C. Stanley. Does that happen to your family?
Never.
They never talk to you?
Well, yeah, there's that.
Or they don't address you. They
don't call me C. Stanley.
Get over here, you bastard. It's C. Stanley, I'll have you know.
They always usually call me by my nickname.
I got to know what this is.
Stan.
Fuck. That's terrible. I thought you were going to be like, Wee Willie. Wait, remember, Nate, that we were going to have him be Duck? Why have we gotten rid of that? Duck Willis was the name.
I don't think anybody was going to do that.
Nate spent 4 hours working on shirts with ducks that have your exact beard. We're not going to throw those away.
No.
I want to get back to something that we talked about on the last show, because
Nate,
you literally...
Nate, you getting aspirin. I'm getting a headache over here.
Your diva-like antics aren't getting you away from this conversation, because you started it, and then you started to end it as we're running out of time.
What did I start? What did I do now?
So you were saying, we were talking about the midterms, how important those would be. But then the next election,
because it's like half your grade, and if you don't do well, you're screwed.
But in politics, that's a good thing. Now the problem is, we typically, those people say, "I just need a little bit more time."
About elections. I thought you were
Yes.
talking about exams.
Yes, the elections. Everyone loves to talk about them, except now. So this used to be like a fun scenario where you'd say, like, you had two parties and neither one was horrible, except in your eyes, whatever.
Isn't it great that they call them parties?
I
like they're fun.
I thought the GOP, the Grand Old Party, I thought, oh, that sounds like a bunch of fun people. Like, they're just on one side.
Keyword is old.
I just blanked on what's the name of the Democrats, the GOP and the, what do they call the Democrats?
Donkeys.
Why would you choose that of all things?
Because that's their symbol.
Jackasses?
Elephants and donkeys.
No, I didn't mean why would you, C. Stanley Willis, choose that. I mean, of the two things you could choose.
Well, I mean, it's a beast of burden.
Oh, my God.
They kill coyotes.
Who kills coyotes?
Don Quixote's buddy.
I thought you literally said Donkey Hote, not Don Quixote.
No, Don Quixote.
I thought there was like a Shrek character, Donkey Hote. So both parties
Donkey is a Shrek character.
Yes, but his last name is. What if his name is Quixote? We got to look that up. Somebody googly that.
If it's not, it should be.
What if we start doing T-shirts with that on there? They can't sue us if we just are too stupid to look it up. That's a shirt right there. You can't sue us if we're too stupid to look it up.
Don Quixote.
So on the last show, you said the biggest concern wasn't so much the midterms, but what happens in 2024, because we literally could end up in a civil war. And I didn't want to let that go a few weeks and say, Stan, remember when we talked about the end of the world?
Yeah.
Well, now it's on fire. Do you want to talk about it?
I just think I think that there's, I mean, even the Democrats are starting to look around and go, holy crap, the midterms are going to go very badly. And, you know, there are lots of, there are a lot of House seats open. I think there aren't that many, there aren't as many Senate seats open or up for grabs right now. But I think the Senate, some projections I've seen that there are going to be 4 or 5 seats that are going to flip to the Senate. And I've heard people throwing out numbers anywhere between 40 and 100 House seats are going to flip to Republican. And then a good number of Republicans got primaried in their election. So some of those seats are, you know, they're not the old school Republicans that are running. It's actually a different breed of Republican. So I think that if the midterms go heavily against the Democrats, I wouldn't be surprised to see aggressive action taken against Biden and Harris.
Executions.
Well, probably more like actual
impeachments.
And
You mean if it flips, then the Republicans? Oh, I 100% think that's going to happen because they're going to say you did it to Trump.
But the thing is that I think that there's a chance because of the ground. So just kind of follow my logic here. But what I'm thinking is that if a lot of people, if a lot of seats switch, so that a significant majority of both the House and the Senate are Republican, then I think that you're going to have some moderate Democrats that are going to look at that and go, crap, I'm up in 2024. I better get in line with where the population goes. So I think there might be a good chance at them actually making an impeachment stick. But
what does that mean? I mean, they impeached Trump twice over bullshit.
Well, the impeachment is really just the act of the trial. The judgment is what comes out by the Senate. And if the Senate finds them guilty, the Senate can remove them from office.
But I do think it's an odd thing because it's not just Trump. I mean, this happened before. It doesn't happen all the time where they want to impeach somebody. But I remember as a kid, like, they're going to impeach Bill Clinton and he's going to be in jail. No, he's going to be on Arsenio Hall.
I don't know that what they impeached Clinton over was essentially lying lying about having sex with
a pig,
a lot of people, but
that guy can't pick him.
I'm not.
You ever see that girl from Arkansas? Her teeth are sticking out like a busted fence, and he didn't deny it. He's just like, what are you gonna do about it?
Right, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure that the charges against Biden wouldn't be more serious.
Listen, the guy called someone a war criminal.
Well, but you've got all the stuff with Hunter Biden that is out there.
None of it's true. They said so in 2020. Just because it's true now.
The Washington, which one's the liberal one? The Washington Post.
Washington Post.
The Washington Post actually admitted that the laptop was real. And so if the Washington Post is saying that, I mean, that's a big signal that.
Have you seen the stuff?
That's a big signal that, hey Joe, we're not helping you with this one.
Right. Well, right? If you've seen the audio or heard the audio that's come off or the video, it's disturbing stuff.
Some of the stuff is awful, and But anyway, that laptop being out there, along with his involvement in Ukraine and the fact that. Joe Biden was very closely involved with all that stuff, and all that's now public information. It's not. I mean, the media is not talking about it, but it's also not hidden information. It's not like it's not out there, and it's not like during the election when you got deplatformed for talking about it. You don't get deplatformed for talking about it anymore. So
because it doesn't matter, right?
Right. But
he's already moved his shit into the bedroom. We're not booting him out.
Right. Well, I mean, but that's what I'm saying. With all that stuff out there, and I'm not sure that the neocons and the WEF and all that stuff aren't willing to sacrifice Biden. I mean, I think they're already decided. We don't really care about him anyway.
I'd book his trip to Dallas, Texas right now.
Then you have some intriguing questions about that. Now, the other possibilities that could happen. I think that the House and the Senate are going to flip to be Republican. If they don't flip significantly, then you're just going to have 2 years of nothing happening, which is what we're always used to, right? It'll just be the same old crap. If somehow if somehow the Democrats maintain majorities, I think that I think that will probably cause just a huge amount of divisiveness.
From the populace, right? So,
from the populace.
Well, I think it'll be like in France when Macron.
I think that you have a majority of people who already kind of believe the last election was fraudulent.
You mean everybody?
And then you have that 2,000 mules thing, and all of this video information is starting to come out. So I think that if that were to happen, I think that you probably, especially with as aggressive as this administration's been on some of their agendas, I don't think that states like Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, I think a lot of those states will just say, you know what, we're out of here.
Can I present the other side of this argument? Because
Certainly.
so I've seen they're showing reports of 11 million people have switched from Democrat to Republican, and I've had conversations with 3 or 4 people just that I know in my own circle. It kind of surprised me because I never want to talk politics to somebody because I don't really care what you believe.
Right.
What I want to talk about is how it affects. It doesn't matter what side of the party you're on. How's it affecting your life? Like, that's what I'm curious about. And I feel like this is one of those things like we're going to give the ball to these guys and they're going to fix it. I also don't know that just voting that way and getting them in fixes
I'm
it.
not sure it's going to fix it. That's what I think is really what I think is interesting is the Fed's raising rates, and so before this year, let's say, the thing that all during the whole pandemic and everything else, what appeared to be frightening to a lot of people was the fact that the politicians, the bankers on Wall Street, and the ruling elite
Thank you.
were all on the same page. They were all pulling together. So the very wealthy people like the Zuckerbergs, but also then the WEF.
Mel B from the Spice Girls.
Mel B, and she, WEF. So Klaus Schwab and
Well, he's a big fan of that music.
Soros. Yeah, I'm sure he is.
Actually, Google pictures of Klaus Schwab on the beach. You'll see what I mean.
I don't think I want to do that.
Oh, you don't. You don't.
But that was the frightening thing. What's interesting now is that the Fed, which is kind of controlled by by all the bankers in Wall Street, the Fed's kind of saying, I'm not going to play along with you anymore. And
I do find that interesting because I don't know where that break occurred.
Well, I think what happened is you have some of these bankers that kind of look at this and say, hey, if we keep going this direction, we keep doing this thing, then we're effectively going to bankrupt the United States. And if we bankrupt the United States, that's going to hurt my cash flow.
Right.
And so what I think has happened is that the bankers have kind of just said, I like money and I want to keep mine. So I'm not going to do this because that's going to take away my cash flow. So I think that you have kind of the Fed, by raising interest rates, it's causing problems in Europe, and Europe has been bankrupt for years and years and years.
Right.
And so I think
under the same direction of the people that are trying to influence what we're doing.
Right. But I think that what's going to happen if the Fed continues to raise rates into the end of the year is that it's probably going to put the EU into a situation where it's in severe crisis.
Don't you see this almost like in the Cold War, where it's like what destroyed Russia was the bankruptcy issue,
Right.
Not that they didn't have a military, not that they weren't capable. They were trading food for toilet paper. Economic sanctions don't work the way that people, we're going to sanction Russia, we're going to sanction Venezuela, we're going to do all this other shit. At the same time that we're trying to move bases in there, and like in the Ukraine, we're pumping all that money into Ukraine to protect biolabs, 46 biolabs. That now they admitted to 6, and then 2 weeks later I'd say, well, yes, we have 46 biolabs. Russia's the one that said it first. Putin is the one that made the announcement that you don't want this coming out. Because this is literally like me looking in my neighbor's yard and I know that stuff is there. All these things were conspiracy theories. The hardest thing for me, I think, is like when you find out this stuff and then you see it's true. It's almost like, oh, I wish I didn't know this. And now the general public, there's nothing that is that seems to sway them, either liberal or Republican, because the more that they're unloading on you, you don't even have time to take it in and go, oh, so COVID was a manufactured crisis. Monkeypox is also another distraction. They're giving you so many distractions, I think, to keep you from organizing and going, hey, I do want to change parties, or I do want to vote third party. Mm-hmm. That's the one thing you can't be in this country is third party.
I know.
They want it, and Biden had it taken off in North Carolina. He said the guy that's running in North Carolina, he took him off the ballot. Even though the guy had raised the money and all that other stuff, he doesn't want third party candidates. Which
they don't want third party candidates because the third party, like for instance, Libertarian Party, which is Ron Paul's thing, the Libertarian Party doesn't. I mean, they're not beholden to the neocons. They're not trying to. In fact, the policies that most libertarians put forward would actually hurt the military-industrial complex and would actually be the opposite of what the neocons seem to want. So,
don't you think it's funny that the party that's always wanting to ban guns is always constantly approving the military budget to be more? When Trump was in office, I think that the budget was supposed to be $231 billion or something like that, and they gave him $275, and he said, "I didn't ask for that." Nope, it's going to go up. It's going to go up because they all own stock in these companies that make guns and tanks and all that. Mm-hmm. So if we don't have a war to fight, guess what? I'm losing a shitload of my 401k. That's what I think is disingenuous about it also, is that you as a senator can buy stocks before we even know what's happening, because you can also vote on and say, you know what, we're going to go to 100% electric cars by 2025, and you can buy stock in all these companies. And by the time that we find out, you know, Jonathan, my financial advisor, while he's sleeping in the backyard, he'll wake up and go, oh shit, 3 days ago Tesla was going to blow up. I should have told you. These people already know. Tommy Tuberville was a coach at Auburn for a few years. This guy's made more in stock transactions than he made coaching in the SEC for 20 years, because he is making big bets on these things and they're taking off. If you look at any senator, they're making a minimum of 17% on their stocks while we're losing. That is the best job to get. If you've got a little cash to play, you're going to win the casino. Mm-hmm. That's why it's hard to get them out. It's hard to get those. They don't really want to vote on things. I just want the inside scoop. I mean, I bet you people don't even know half of the people that they vote for. They just vote for a Republican or Democrat, and you get exactly.
I think that's what's happening. But I think that the misery index is coming up a little bit here, and I think that's going to bring more people out to the polls. You know, the other thing that's interesting about midterms is most of the time in the midterms the turnout's about 30%. You know, it's not like at presidential elections. Right. So with smaller turnout, it's going to be harder to convince people. I mean, to convince people that 81, 70, so that 160 million people voted in the presidential election. Okay, we'll
out of 338 million people that live here, what'd you say the number was? 161.
Well, it was Biden got 81 million and
Trump got 72.
72.
So 163 million people out of 338 million at the time. So and 40% of those were kids or invalids.
It's one thing to say that in a presidential election. It's another thing to say that in a midterm election.
Right.
I mean, you're talking, typical voter turnout is about a third of registered voters, which I don't know, what's that going to be? 80 million people, 100 million people. I don't know.
The people that tend to vote, though, are the people that still treat it like it's a treasure to be, like it's it's something that you want. I don't know people, I'm 40-some years old. I know people that they are going to vote regardless.
But in midterms, it's the angry people who vote.
Right.
Right. And I think that a lot of people in the United States are angry, and they're angry about the policies that are being pushed by the administration. They're angry because there's a border crisis. They're angry because gas prices are high. They're angry because they're paying twice as much for food as they were at this point last year. I mean, they're just angry about all of these things, and they see this administration as being the cause of their problems,
Hardship.
right or wrong. Because some of these things are somewhat cyclical in nature. Some of these things just happen. Some of these things go back.
Some of these things you're making worse. It's like
Right.
poking it with a stick, and you're like, let's see what happens when we do this, and it gets tremendously worse. I want to ask you before we leave, because we're talking about people being angry, and this is a legal case. Brittany Griner, the WNBA player.
Oh yeah.
The ruling came down. It looks like she's going to get 10 years in a Russian prison. So here's, just so people understand this.
Seriously, 10 years?
Yes. Now, as you said, she probably won't serve that. I think this is going to be a prisoner swap because one of Russia's biggest gun smuggling guys, we have the guy. So in return, they want to give.
We're going to trade a basketball player for an oligarch.
Yep. We're going to. Yes.
Seems fair.
But here's the problem with it. She was going to Russia because the WNBA doesn't pay, even their big stars, they don't make a lot of money. So they have to go to Europe to make money. Mm-hmm. She's smuggling vape cartridges in with hash oil or whatever. So enough to distribute, we'll say. So she gets arrested. So she committed a crime, whether it was in this country or that country. Mm-hmm. So because she was one of the biggest Black Lives Matter supporters, what's the other? I forget what the other one is. Anyway, every cause that somebody would go, fuck, do I have to watch this on TV again, this bitch? So this is also a domestic abuser who her wife is saying, you've got to get my wife out. She's scared. This is the same woman that caught a few elbows from this chick. Now she's pleading on Biden in the United States to get her out. She walked off during the national anthem multiple times. She knelt on the court. She said everything about America sucks, and now America's supposed to go get her out. I just want to lay that out because I don't give a shit either way. Mm-hmm. What I'm looking at as a lawyer is you broke a law in any country. If I did that,
right,
I'd have to serve the 10 years, and nobody would be saying, you got to go get the greatest podcaster that ever lived out of a Russian prison. They wouldn't care.
No, they certainly wouldn't be saying that.
You think that they would care?
No, I don't think they'd be saying that they need to get the greatest podcaster that ever lived out.
There's me. There's Joe Rogan. Go on. I just want to know, do you think that we should be... The part that I didn't
agree that those are both podcasters.
They are both podcasters. We exist in the same universe. My question to you, though, is when they pled with Biden in a very public way, as though he has to go do this, it comes off as super weak if Russia actually does keep her.
It's well, I mean, there are several things in there that, first of all, if you're just an average citizen of the United States and you break a law in the other country, the United States is probably not going to intervene in your situation. Now, there have been situations where folks were charged illegally, or there was something funky going on, and maybe the consulate or something might try to do something here or there. But in the general scheme of things, if you're in another country and you're breaking that country's laws, then you're going to be subject to their court system and their punishments. On the flip side of the thing, from a how it looks standpoint, I mean, I'm fine with people protesting and having problems with the way things are, and wanting to make changes. I'm fine with that. I think everybody has a right to say what they want to say. I think there's a bit of I mean, this is similar to the mayor of Chicago. What's her name?
Lori Lightfoot.
Yeah, her. Coming out and lambasting the police and completely criticizing everything they do and wanting to defund her own police force. But then she has 24-hour guard from her police force at her house, and then actually says, well, that's because I'm an important person, and so I deserve this. It's disingenuous. It's
like when she says at a concert, fuck Clarence Thomas, but 6 months before, all Black Lives Matter. Right. Just not his.
Not Clarence's. It's qualified.
Right. It's when I want to selectively use this.
But the fundamental problem is it's just disingenuous, and so for this basketball player, the problem is, I mean, she didn't just kneel during the national anthem and protest. They walked off.
She waited till they started and walked off the court.
They walked off the court. I mean, it's just if you're that angry with the place that gave you the opportunity to do what you're doing, that's fine. Then go somewhere else, I guess. Right. But I kind of agree with Dave Chappelle. Where are you going to get a better shake?
Right.
And I mean, that same possession charge that she had in the United States probably doesn't even buy her jail time.
Right.
So,
only if she came through the airport, though. You fuck around in the airport, you're in trouble.
Well, that's true.
But if you're driving from Oklahoma to Arkansas,
right,
it's a traffic stop and you're paying. But you can't fuck around in airports.
Right. So
that's literally another shirt.
So I just kind of I find. What that does is it makes all the protesting that she did look to me to be disingenuous. Right.
Well, I want to say on the way out, and I want to say this from the bottom of my heart, Brittany Griner, enjoy jail, you big tree bitch. We'll see you next week.